Morning, welcome to Colin's Reading Aloud Project Part 88, another 1,000 words, starting now. Emo, emo core, emo cores, emo din, emo dins, emoji, emojis, emolescence, emolescences, emoliate, emoliated, emoliates, emoliating, emollients, emolliences, emollient, emollients, emolition, emolitions, emolument, emolumental, emolumentary, emoluments, emung, emunges, emungest, emongst, emos, emote, emoted, emoter, emoters, emotes, emoticon, emoticons, emoting, emotion, emotionable, emotional, emotionalize, emotionalized, emotionalizes, emotionalizing, emotionalism, emotionalisms, emotionalist, emotionalistic, emotionalists, emotionalities, emotionality, emotionalize, emotionalized, emotionalizes, emotionalizing, emotionally, emotionless, emotionlessly, emotionlessness, emotions, emotive, emotively, emotiveness, emotivnesses, emotivism, emotivisms, emotivities, emotivity, emove, emoved, emoves, emoving, empacket, empacketed, empacketing, empackets, empaistic, impair, impaired, impairs, impairing, impale, impaled, impalement, impalements, impaler, impalers, impales, impaling, empanada, empanadas, empanel, empanelled, empaneling, empanelled, empaneling, empanelment, empanelments, empanels, empanoplied, empanoplies, empanoply, empanoplying, emparadise, emparadised, emparadises, emparadising, impair, impaired, impairs, impairing, empal, empalaunce, empalaunces, empaled, empaling, empals, empart, imparted, imparting, imparts, empassionate, impassioned, empathetic, empathetically, empathic, empathically, empathies, empathize, empathized, empathizes, empathizing, empathist, empathists, empathize, empathized, empathizes, empathizing, empathy, empatron, empatroned, empatroning, empatrons, impair, impaired, impairs, impairing, impeach, impeached, impeaches, impeaching, empennage, empennages, empeople, empeopled, empeoples, empeopling, empurse, empursed, empurses, empursing, emperies, emporize, emporized, emporizes, emporish, emporished, emporishes, emperishing. That's probably emperish, emperished, emperished, emperishing, emperizing, emporize, emporized, emporizes, emporizing, emperor, emperors, emperorship, emperorships, empery, emphases, emphasis, emphases, emphasis, emphasize, emphasized, emphasizes, emphasizing, emphasize, emphasized, emphasizes, emphasizing, emphatic, emphatical, emphatically, emphaticalness, emphatics, emphlises, emphysis, emphatic, emphractic, emphractics, emphysema, emphysemas, emphysematous, emphysemic, emphysemics, emphitusis, emphituses, emphitusis, emphytutic, empeasement, empeasements, empeus, empeused, empeuses, empeucing, empite, empited, empiting, empites, empire, empires, empiric, empirical, empirically, empiricalness, empiricalnesses, empiricals, empiricism, empiricisms, empiricist, empiricist, empiricists, empirics, empiriceutic, emplace, emplaced, emplacement, emplacements, emplaces, emplacing, emplane, emplaned, emplanes, emplaning, emplaster, emplastered, emplastering, emplasters, emplastic, emplastics, emplastron, emplastrons, emplastrum, emplastrums, empleach, empleached, empleaches, empleaching, emplecton, emplectons, emplectum, emplectums, emplonge, emplonged, emplonges, emplonging, employ, employabilities, employability, employable, employables, employ, employed, employee, employees, employer, employers, employees, employing, employment, employments, employs, emplume, emplumed, emplumes, empluming, empoison, empoisoned, empoisoning, empoisonment, empoisonments, empoisons, empolder, empoldered, empoldering, empolders, emporia, emporium, emporiums, impoverish, impoverished, impoverisher, impoverishers, impoverishes, impoverishing, impoverishment, impoverishments, empower, empowered, empowering, empowerment, empowerments, empowers, empress, empress, empressment, empressments, empresses, emprise, emprises, emprise, emprises, emptied, emptiable, emptied, emptier, emptiers, empties, emptiest, emptily, emptiness, emptinesses, emptying, emptings, emptins, emption, emptional, emptions, empts, empty, emptying, emptyings, emptieses, emptieses, emptiesis, empurple, empurpled, empurples, empurpling, empuser, empusers, empews, empuses, empyema, empyemas, empyemata, empyemic, empieses, empiesis, imperial, empyrean, empyreans, empyreuma, empyreumata, empyreumatic, empyreumatical, empyreumatize, empyreumatized, empyreumatizes, empyreumatizing, empyreumatize, empyreumatizes, empyreumatized, empyreumatizes, empyreumatizing, ems, emu, emulate, emulated, emulates, emulating, emulation, emulations, emulative, emulatively, emulator, emulators, emulatress, emulatrices, emule, emuled, emules, emulge, emulged, emulgents, emulgences, emulgent, emulges, emulging, emuling, emulous, emulously, emulousness, emulousnesses, emulsible, emulsifiable, emulsification, emulsifications, emulsified, emulsifier, emulsifiers, emulsifies, emulsify, emulsifying, emulsin, emulsins, emulsion, emulsionize, emulsionized, emulsionizes, emulsionizing, emulsionize, emulsionized, emulsionizes, emulsionizing, emulsions, emulsive, emulsoid, emulsoidal, emulsoids, emulsor, emulsors, emunction, emunctions, emunctories, emunctory, emunge, emunged, emunges, emunging, emure, immured, emures, emuring, emus, emed, emid, emide, emides, emids, emies, enable, enabled, enablement, enablements, enabler, enablers, enables, enabling, enact, enactable, enacted, enacting, enaction, enactions, enactive, enactment, enactments, enactor, enactors, enactory, enacts, enacture, enactures, enalapril, enalaprils, enalage, enalages, enamel, enamelled, enameller, enamelers, enamelling, enamelings, enamelist, enamelists, enamelled, enameller, enamelers, enamelling, enamelings, enamelist, enamelists, enamels, enamelware, enamelwares, enamelwork, enamelworks, enamine, enamines, enamor, enamorado, enamorados, enamoured, enamoring, enamors, enamor, enamoured, enamoring, enamors, enanthema, enanthemos, enantiodromia, enantiodromias, enantiodromic, enantioma, enantiomeric, enantiomers, enantiomorph, enantiomorphic, enantiomorphes, enantiomorphism, enantiomorphous, enantiomorphs, enantiomorphy, enantiopathies, enantiopathy, enantioses, enantiosis, enantiostyles, enantiostylus, enantiostyli, enantiotropic, enantiotropes, enantiotropy, enarch, enarched, enarches, enarching, enargite, enargites, enarm, enarmed, enarming, enarms, eneration, enerations, enarthrodial, enarthroses, enarthrosis, innate, innates, innatic, innation, innations, enanter, ensenia, ensenias, encage, encaged, encages, encaging, encalm, encalmed, encalming, encalms, encamp, encamped, encamping, encampment, encampments, encamps, encanthus, encanthuses, encapsulate, encapsulated, encapsulates, encapsulating, encapsulation, encapsulations, encapsule, encapsuled, encapsules, encapsule, encapsuled, encapsules, encapsulating, encarnalize, encarnalized, encarnalizes, encarnalizing, encarnalize, encarnalized, encarnalizes, encarnalizing, encarpus, encarpuses, encase, encased, encasement, encasements, encases, encash, encashable, encashed, encaches, encashing, encashment, encashments, encasing, encastra, encaustic, encaustically, encaustics, encave, encaved, encaves, encaving, enceinte, ensaints, encephala, encephalalgia, encephalalgias, encephalic, encephalin, encephaline, encephalines, encephalins, encephalitic, encephalitides, encephalitis, encephalitises, encephalitogen, encephalitogens, encephalocele, encephaloceles, encephalogram, encephalograms, encephalograph, encephalographs, encephalography, encephaloid, encephaloma, encephalomas, encephalomata, encephalon, encephalons, encephalopathic, encephalopathy, encephalotomies, encephalotomy, encephalus, enchafe, enchafed, enchafes, enchafing, enchain, enchained, enchaining, enchainment, enchainments, enchains, enchant, enchanted, enchanter, enchanters, enchanting, enchantingly, enchantment, enchantments, enchantress, enchantresses, enchants, encharge, encharged, encharges, encharging, encharm, encharmed, encharming, encharm, enchase, enchased, enchaser, enchasers, enchases, enchasing, encheeson, encheesons, encheer, encheered, encheering, encheers, enchiridia, enchiridion, enchiridions, enchilada, enchiladas, enchiridia, enchiridion, enchiridions, enchondroma, enchondromas, enchondromata, enchondromatus, encorial, enchoric, enciero, encieros, encina, encinal, encinal, encinus, encincture, encinctured, encinctures, encincturin, encipher, enciphered, encipherer, encipherers, enciphering, encipherment, encipherments, enciphers, encircle, encircled, encirclement, encirclements, encircles, encircling, enclasp, enclasped, enclasping, enclasps, enclave, enclaved, enclaves, enclaving, enclises, enclysis, enclitic, enclitically, enclitics, encloister, encloistered, encloistering, encloisters, enclosable, enclose, enclosed, encloser, enclosers, encloses, enclosing, enclosure, enclosures, enclothe, enclothed, enclothes, enclothing, encloud, enclouded, enclouding, enclouds, encodable, encode, encoded, encodement, encodements, encoder, encoders, encodes, encoding, encodings, encoiner, encoinures, encolour, encolored, encoloring, encolours, encolpion, encolpions, encolpium, encolpiums, encollier, encolliers, encommendero, encomenderos, encomia, encomiast, encomiastic, encomiastical, encomiastically, encomiasts, encomiender, encomienders, encomion, encomium, encomiums, encompass, encompassed, encompasses, encompassing, encompassment, encompassments, encopresis, encopreses, encopresis, encopretic, encore, encored, encores, encoring, encounter, encountered, encounterer, encounterers, encountering, encounters, encourage, encouraged, encouragement, encouragements, encourager, encouragers, encourages, encouraging, encouragingly, encouragings, encradle, encradled, encradles, encradling, encrates, encrati, encrease, encreased, encreases, encreasing, encrimson, encrimsoned, encrimsoning, encrimsons, encrinal, encrinic, encrinital, encrinital, encrinite, encrinites, encrinitic, encroach, encroached, encroacher, encroachers, encroaches, encroaching, encroachingly, encroachment, encroachments, encrust, encrustation, encrustations, encrusted, encrusting, encrustment, encrustments, encrusts, encrypt, encrypted, encrypting, encryption, encryptions, encrypts, enculturate, enculturated, enculturates, enculturating, enculturation, enculturations, enculturative, encumber, encumbered, encumbering, encumberingly, encumberment, encumberments, encumbers, encumbrance, encumbrancer, encumbrances, encumbrances, encurtain, encurtained, encurtaining, encurtains, encyclic, encyclical, encyclicals, encyclics, encyclopedia, encyclopedias, encyclopedic, encyclopedical, encyclopedism, encyclopedisms, encyclopedist, encyclopedists, encyclopedia, encyclopedian, encyclopedias, encyclopedic, encyclopedical, encyclopedism, encyclopedisms, encyclopedist, encyclopedists, encysst, encystation, encistations, encysted, encysting, encystment, encystments, encysts, end, endamage, endamaged, endamagement, endamagements, endamages, endamaging, endamoeba, endamoebae, endamoebas, endamoebic, endamoeba, endamoebae, endamoebas, endamoebic, endanger, endangered, endangerer, endangerers, endangering, endangerment, endangerments, endangers, endark, endarchy, endarchies, endarchy, endart, endarted, endarterectomy, endarting, endarts, endash, endashes, endbrain, endbrains, endcap, endcaps, endear, endeared, endearing, endearingly, endearingness, endearingnesses, endearment, endearments, endears, endeavour, endeavoured, endeavourer, endeavourers, endeavouring, endeavours, endeavour, endeavours, endeavoured, endeavourer, endeavourers, endeavouring, endeavourment, endeavourments, endeavours, endecagon, endecagons, ended, endeictic, endeixes, endeixes, endeixis, endeixises, endemial, endemic, endemical, endemically, endemicities, endemicity, endemics, endemiologies, endemiology, endemism, endemisms, endenizen, endenizend, endenizening, endenizens, ender, endogonic, endermatic, endermic, endermical, enderon, enderons, enders, endue, endued, enduing, endues, endexine, endexines, endgame, endgames, endgate, endgates, ending, endings, endiron, endions, endite, endicted, endicted. I've just realised I've gone a few past 1,000, so I'll stop there on endicted, and I'll see you tomorrow.